Kyle, I guess what I'm going to say to you is what did you see in a change from Milwaukee's standpoint in terms of preparation and execution? And what do you think they're going to need to do to turn this series around to try to make this 2-1?
Well, the way that I see it is Milwaukee definitely made some solid adjustments defensively. The one thing that I saw in game one is whenever they would switch defensively when they were guarding Chris Paul and Devin Booker, is Phoenix got the switches that they wanted because they got Brook Lopez one-on-one on either Devin Booker or Chris Paul. In game two, Milwaukee definitely improved their switching because usually when they switched, they mostly either had PJ Tucker or maybe Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday on Devin Booker and Chris Paul for the most part. So they definitely improved their defensive switches on that aspect. Now, the difference in this game compared to game one was Phoenix by and large was just outstanding behind the 3 point line because Milwaukee started off this game very hot and they just attacked the paint the entire first quarter. That's something that you and I talked about was one of the adjustments that they had to make from game one was the fact that they had to be more aggressive and they had to attack the paint with Giannis and Brook Lopez. And that's exactly what they did in the first quarter. But Phoenix responded really well by knocking down, I believe in the first quarter, they knocked down over 6 to 7 3 pointers. You know, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and Chris Paul, they were all knocking down shots early. And those players in particular, they kind of made up for Devin Booker to a certain extent because Devin did start off the game very cold. However, as the game wore on, Devin started knocking down some shots. He got into a groove. Chris Paul, as usual, was knocking down those mid-range jumpers he loves to take. Um, by and large, Phoenix won this game just because of their barrage behind the 3 point line. And they got key contributions from DeAndre Ayton. He didn't have the game that he had in game one, but even so, he had a phenomenal game as far as just getting some second chance points, getting the rebounds that he typically gets, and getting easy buckets at the rim. Now, as far as Milwaukee goes, I thought Milwaukee was a lot more competitive in this game. It's just Giannis was the only one who was really scoring for Milwaukee. And Giannis definitely made it a focal point to be more aggressive. He went to the free throw line numerous amounts of times throughout the entirety of the game. But he didn't get a lot of help from the rest of his teammates. Drew Holiday had a bad night. He was very inconsistent. I thought his shot selection was a little bit off. Drew just had a tough night. Chris Middleton, he was okay. He definitely knocked down some 3 point shots that closed the gap for Phoenix leads a few times. But by and large, I just didn't think that the role players outside of Pat Connaughton did much. And if you're looking at Milwaukee here, Giannis is your main player scoring the majority of your points. But you have to get contributions from at least two of the three top guys. They didn't get it from Drew, and Chris was, I would say, okay, but they need Chris to be better than okay if they want to have a chance to get back into this series. All in all, Phoenix, just from the way that I look at it, they're just a more well-rounded team. They have great leadership in Chris Paul. Devin Booker is just a superstar blooming in front of our eyes. DeAndre Ayton is a solid big man for them. And their role players have been nothing short of phenomenal. Mikal Bridges scored over 20 points. You know, he was knocking down 3 point shots. He was knocking mid-range jumpers. He was making layups. He was sensational as far as their role players go. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Milwaukee to contend with as this series does transition back to Milwaukee for game three.
Oh, 130%. It's crazy when you really look at this. And again, I have to give a shout out to Giannis. The man dropped 42 points today with 12 boards, four of them being offensive. You look at the injury that he sustained last week, and you think, damn, he's probably out for the postseason. He's playing as if he's never been hurt, and he's playing at a very intense clip. He scored 62 points in his first two NBA Finals games, and he actually broke an NBA. Well, not broke, but he's got the most points scored in a quarter in the NBA Finals since Michael Jordan did it in 1993. Giannis scored 20 points in the third quarter today. Michael scored 22 points in a quarter against the Phoenix Suns, ironically, in 1993, which is crazy to me to think that one player basically scored basically a team's total quarter's worth of points. And, as a unit, Kyle said it already, the supporting cast was lackluster to say the least, just inconsistent. Chris Middleton's got to get it going. The man had he was 5 of 16, Drew Holiday was 7 of 21, Brook Lopez was 4 of 10, and Coddington was really that only person that really came off the bench and did something. He had 14 points. He was 5 of 10 from the field. But where the hell is Bobby Portis? Where's the Bobby Portis of games 5 and 6 against Atlanta? He had 2 points. Jeff Teague playing 12 minutes, 4 points. Forbes, 3 points. Brook Lopez, 8 points. PJ Tucker again is not an offensive person, so I would never expect PJ Tucker to have more than 10 points in a game. If he does, that's absolute luxury for them. But he only had 7 points as well. And you look on the opposite side of the spectrum, and I mean all the way down the line, excluding the bench, of course. Jay Crowder had 11 for the Suns. Mikal Bridges had a career high 27 points in the postseason. DeAndre Ayton had a very off night, going 4 of 10 from the field, but he was able to put up 10 and 11. Chris Paul had 23 points. Devin Booker had 31 points. So everybody was able to contribute and bring something to the table in order for the Suns to take this 2-0 lead. But the one thing I have to circle here, even though they won, the Suns just got abused on the defensive rebounds. They just Milwaukee was just able to grab so many boards in the third and fourth quarter, which is why Milwaukee was able to kind of stay in this game as long as they did. And a lot of that was due to Giannis's hustle, and it was just kind of crazy when you think about it. Like the stat sheet itself says that Phoenix had 43 boards, and the Bucks had 46, but the stats don't reflect it. Phoenix's lack of boxing out and inability to grab key rebounds in the game was able to keep Milwaukee at arm's distance or arm's length, so to speak. And the Suns shooting at the clip that they were in terms of efficiency from beyond the arc is what kept the lead intact, if we're being completely honest. And as I've said throughout the entire postseason, you can only do so much when your team is hitting those shots, but what happens if they don't? I think Phoenix needs to understand that they cannot continue to live and die by this 3-point possession or these 3-point shots, because they're not the Golden State Warriors. They're not the most efficient 3-point shooting team in the league. Granted, they shoot at a very high percentage, but when your only consistent 3-point shooters are Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges, I mean, honestly, I can't even say that they're that consistent. Like Jay Crowder takes a lot of threes, but he's not the most consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like Devin is the volume shooter of this team. Chris will take the ball to the basket. Chris will shoot at an efficient clip in terms of mid-range jump shots. But the fact that the Phoenix Suns were able to shoot 20 of 40 from the 3-point line is absolutely insane.